Right. Good thing they've already let you into their little cult. Not likely they'd help Esbern or me if we came calling. We'll look around Skyhaven Temple and see what else the old blades might have left for us. It's a better hideout than I could have hoped for. Talos guard you.
Look here, in the third panel. The prophecy which brought the Akaviri to Tamriel in the first place, in search of the Dragonborn. Here are the Akaviri, the blades. You see their distinctive long swords. Now they kneel, their ancient mission fulfilled, as the last Dragonborn contends with Alduin at the end of time. Are you paying attention, Delphine? You might learn something of our own history. Hey, did you say something? Haven't you been paying attention to anything I've said? Only you can finally defeat Alduin and avert the end of the world. If we can just find out what shout the Nord heroes used, you may have a chance. Or not. There's no guarantee with prophecy. Merely hope.
You're in luck. There is a blessing the blades used on the eve of battle. It's supposed to prepare the mind for slaying dragons. I doubt the blessing's effects last for very long. So ask whenever you're heading out, and I'll perform the proper rites.
Haven't you been paying attention to anything I've said? Only you can finally defeat Alduin and avert the end of the world. Very good.
What is it? The Thalmor hunted us down, remember? It wasn't exactly great for recruitment. But we have a headquarters of a sort now. We will rebuild the blades. Someday. If you find anyone you think would make a good recruit, I can certainly take a look at them. Remember though, being a blade is a lifelong commitment. Their loyalty has to be with us once they're in. If they had their way, you do nothing but sit up on their mountain with them and talk to the sky or whatever it is they do. The Greybeards are so afraid of power that they won't use it. Think about it. Have they tried to stop? No. And they're afraid of... Trust me, there is no need to be afraid. Think of Tiber Septim. Do you think he'd have founded the Empire if he'd listened to the Greybeards?
I know the prophecy by heart. Once all blades knew it. When misrule takes its place at the 8 corners of the world. When the brass tower rocks and time is reshaped. When the thrice blessed fail and the red tower trembles. When the dragonborn ruler loses his throne and the white tower falls. When the snow tower lies sundered, kingless, bleeding, the World Eater wakes, and the wheel turns upon the last Dragonborn.
Well, I'm gonna look around, see what the old blades left for us.
Yes, that's an excellent idea. You know,
Delphine wasn't kidding when she said this place needed tidying up. That's what happens when you leave a home to dust and age, although I think most of this mess can't be more than a week old. If I had to take a guess, I'd say it was Delphine herself that made it. Esbern's too bookish to be tossing things around on the floor like a skeever. Not that I'd ever cross Delphine. Oh no, a delicate flower like me has no business talking back to someone with such big feet. I'm bound to get trampled, and then poor Esbern wouldn't have anything to stare at. Well, other than that delightful little wall. No? Are you a broom? Well, if you are, you're upside down. The bristles go on the floor, sweetie, and they say I'm the one who's mad. Well, not the kind of mad where I need to be locked in a dungeon or anything like that. Just the sort of mad where no one would believe me if I said there were a bunch of elderly dragon slayers living in a temple behind a giant face. Well, for one, because she needs me. Someone has to wash all the pots and plates, sweep the floors, and change poor Esbern's sheets. And I owed her for letting me stay at her inn in Riverwood after I left my first husband. Or did he leave me? Sometimes I forget who did what. Delphine offered to put me up at half the rate. I didn't like it at first. Whole thing smelt fishier than a Thalmo's politics. Like most folks, I hid my gold for a rainy day. I did it hoping I'd never need it, but knowing I someday might. Only when that time came, I forgot where I put it. And by the time I remembered, I heard a dragon burn the city to the ground. That's why I don't really like dragons. Me and the folk here share that in common. I don't mean to be rude, but when you're my age, there's a lot of yourself to tell, and you're likely to fall asleep halfway through telling it. If I had to sum my existence up in a neat little recipe, I'd say I'm 1 ounce of grit, 2 teaspoons of optimism, and a dash of stubbornness. Not stubborn the way Esbern is about his beliefs, although I do find that attractive in some men, usually the handsome ones. But I'm only stubborn when it comes to habits. Can't give them up, which can be a problem, depending on the habit. For instance, I used to grind my back teeth like some helpless skooma addict, but now I don't. Mostly on account of them falling out. That's how you kick a bad habit. It's like if you want to stop a horse. You ride it faster and faster until it drops dead. Not that I'd recommend ever riding horses. Never, I repeat, never trust anything that sleeps standing up. That's what they've told me. But seeing as I've never actually ridden a horse, I don't know if it'd work. But I could never muster up the courage to try, given that I weigh a couple of ounces soaking wet. Oh no, I haven't taken the oath. You never want to take an oath, child. The person who gives it might whisper something at the end in a voice so low only the dogs can hear it. Right before you say, I do. Next thing you know, you've sworn an oath to be their personal love slave. Not a chance. I told myself the last time that was never happening again. Now, I'm not disparaging Delphine. She's a sweet young lady, but even sweethearts can be swayed by the allure of power over another human being. Of course it would. Otherwise, anyone can weasel their way out of an oath just by saying they didn't hear all the parts they didn't like. Delphine said my only responsibility was to be myself. Seeing as I love food and have had a lifelong feud with dust, I mostly cook and clean. I did as much for Einethach when I was staying in Carthwaston, small town to the north of here. Used to be a big town, before all the business with the Forsworn. It'll take some time, but it'll grow back, like a lizard's tail, or an Argonian's. If I had a tail, I'd put a little bow on it. I could use it to sweep too, like having 3 arms and eyes in the back of your head. The kind that never gets sick, child. There's a reason why people who live in filth and squalor are often the most diseased. I haven't the faintest clue what that reason is, because I'm not an alchemist. But I'm sure there is a reason. Has to be. Tell me, how is it that the Khajiits have all the fur and we Nords have skin? Elsewhere is a bloody desert, and this place is all snow. It's backwards, I tell you. A conspiracy. There's reason enough to make me think the Divines hate us. I have. Sent it by courier, wine bottle and bird. They haven't responded. I'm beginning to suspect it's because they know I'm right. Although I'm not entirely sure that bird delivered my last missive. It gave me one of those looks before I sent it off. The kind Delphine has when I offer to brush her hair. Just between you and me, it's as knotty as a canis root.
Did you say something? Goodbye, then.
on my way to Windhelm to join up with the Stormcloaks. Ulfric has the right of it.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver. Your hands only. Let's see here. Looks like that's it. Got to go.
My boy Leontius lives in Old Trollden. Damn drunk. That's right, Old Inn to the south. The elf doesn't even bother to visit these days. What am I supposed to do if the dragons burn down the farm? You're a traveler, right? I have this letter for him. Let him know how much of a failure he is. Good. You make sure the lug tips you when he gets it. What kind of question is that? Look at me. Is this a young man's face? I've been here 50 years, and nothing's gonna move me off my land. What, have you been staring at your feet this whole time? You see that big city up ahead of you? Markarth? Head over there. Unless you feel like helping my wife pick crops. And then 50 years later, you'll wake up and still be here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is this? A visitor to our farm? Oh, do stay for a while, dear. Honest pay for honest work. Until next time. I hope your parents are proud of you. They have a lot of reason to be. Maybe we could invite some of those nice guards over. You know, for some supper.
No, I have enough trouble without more mouths to feed. They're the Jarl's men. They can eat supper at the keep. My boy Leontius lives in Old Trolden. Damn drunk. Until next time.
Just gets cranky when he doesn't get enough sleep.
Forsworn, undead, witches, wizards, hag ravens, and marriage.
Fear not. Come dragon or giant, we'll be ready.
Carriage is the safest way to travel. Markarth is different from the rest of Skyrim, there's no doubt about that. The Reach has been part of Skyrim for 1,000 years, but the Reachmen still haven't accepted it. It was only 20 years back that the Reachmen rebelled, even took control of Markarth itself for a time. They were crushed, of course. The survivors, the Forsworn, still lurk in the wild to make the Reach dangerous for honest folk. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Going straight through, or did you want to stop somewhere along the way? Climb and back, and we'll be off. It's almost getting downright hot now.